and then we'll get there. Just follow us along. What up, and welcome to another episode of Tilted Pod, your spot for tournament reviews and Magic the Gathering in general, man. We're just hitting everything. But I've noticed that we are hardcore the result podcast. If you want to know tournament results, I think you've come to the right place because we crush them, especially when there's a Modern weekend. And guess what today was?
Modern, baby.
My name is Seth. Don't call me Jack Wilds, and I'm sitting here with Mac Baby Erwin. How you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm really good, man. Let's have some pleasantries. Let's talk the best game on earth. I guess God of War has gotten a lot of rave reviews, but
I do hear it's pretty good.
I've heard it's very good. I haven't played it yet, but let's talk Magic the Gathering. Okay. We're going to start off this week like we start off every week in what we've done in Magic. Mac, what'd you do this week?
I went to F&M.
Cool. I did not go to that one. I missed you.
I fortunately got to play Dominaria Draft in paper for the first time. Unfortunately, did not do very well.
Well, you've been playing Arena, and Arena makes you bad at draft, I think. I'm going to go ahead and say that.
You really think so?
I do.
Why?
I do. Because
Why is that? Because you're not
think,
actually drafting against people?
I don't think you draft against people. I think the draft pools are really bad. The
Yeah.
computer, you can just rare and mythic draft, and a lot of people do, and then they just don't even care to play the games.
Yeah.
And I also think that there's still not that competitive level of drafters on Arena because it's not realistic to the
I
actual...
have played against some really good draft decks, though.
Yeah, because everybody's draft deck is super good if you just want to go straight for it. Like, things are being passed that should never be passed that
probably.
late. They really, push you into colors, and you can definitely... It's very easy to see what's open if you want to just build a good draft deck. So people have, these ridiculous draft decks if they want to win,
Yeah.
and then the other thing you can do is just rare draft, and you just pull rare after rare.
It really is one of the best ways to build your collection.
I think it is the best way to build your collection, and that's why I think it's a really bad right now. I just don't think it's that competitive. So you play that, and you're all right.
I guess I could agree.
I'm doing all right, and then you I tried to go play on Magic Online. That's what I did this weekend. Sorry to just steal your thunder.
You're all
we'll
right.
go back in, but I'll just say. I just wanted to finish this thought because this was actually something I was thinking of. I went to play online. I spent $12 to play on MTGO because I was like, who knows? I could open a Karn, whatever. Open Jaya Ballad first pack. So I was like, bummer.
Yeah.
No, bummer. It's worth 60 cents. So I was like, dang. I guess at least I got a Planeswalker. Passed it, went all the way around, ended up drafting it still. I did terrible. My deck was bad. I couldn't read the actual draft
I
EQ.
think I kind of realized that I'm maybe actually just not a very good drafter.
I don't think that's necessarily true.
I've done well in the past.
It all depends on how well you know the set and know the interactions. And I don't know. I don't think you're a bad drafter.
Well, Dominaria is. I
think it's kind of hard.
It's cool because there's lots of synergies within the set. So I'm like pack one, pick one. I actually don't even my first pick doesn't even matter. But I think it was halfway through that pack. I hadn't really looked at the themes or the archetypes, and I started seeing all the fungus guys, and I was like, that could be cool. And I knew I was in green, black.
On pack one, pick one?
No. I knew I was. I can't remember what I drafted.
Somewhere in there,
I was feeling black initially.
You just went into it like, I'm going to play the fungus green black deck. I do not care what anybody says.
What did it was in pack 2, I got one of the fungus lords.
Fungus Lord's cool.
And I was like, all right, sweet. I just play a bunch of fungus dudes, and I got my
fungus.
Yeah, and I got my fungus lord, and then I picked up the sack 2 creatures bring a reanimated creature.
Yeah, the enchantment.
No, the creature 4-drop.
I can't remember
Blood
what it's called.
Lithargist.
Yeah,
or
Blood
whatever.
Lithar. Yeah,
she has some name. That's another interesting thing. Having so many legendary creatures makes it really hard to remember card
pretty
names.
intense. Yeah, I agree. That's a good point. I haven't actually thought about that. It's true. Because they all have a name followed by a title.
Yeah.
And it is hard to remember all of them.
But anyway, so I picked one of those up and I was like, cool, I can recur dudes that make tokens. And then I opened, and this is what was my feel-good moment. I pulled on pack 3 a foil for Phyrexian Scriptures, which is the 4-drop enchantment. And I love that card. The art is beautiful. It's actually a really good card in the standard, in my opinion. And I was like, all right, sweet, I'm already playing black. And then I rolled my first opponent, and I was feeling super good. And then I just got steamrolled the next 2 rounds.
Yeah, you beat that 7-year-old, and then you were like, rub it in your face. And then died. Well, that sounds like a fun tournament anyways, and it sounds like you had a good time regardless. I definitely think the set is fun. I think it is pretty difficult, and I do think that we have been a little bit, misled by doing it on Arena.
Probably.
I mean, I'm glad that you just can't draft all the time on Arena, because I probably would, and then I just get really terrible at it. This week, I played some Modern, did a little testing for a tournament we have coming up. We are going to try as a team to make it to the July tournament in Indianapolis. I've also played... what else did I play? I did that draft online on MTGO because I wanted to try it since I couldn't make it to FNM, and I still wanted to play a little Dominaria draft.
Yeah, and we played a few hands before we came and did the podcast, so you're playing Death Shadow, right?
Yeah, I'm trying like a new Death Shadow build. It's not new. It's just Grix's Death Shadow.
It's like
not that
Traverse
great,
Shadow,
but with
Shell, but without
Traverse. It just has Mistress Baubles
and
in
Faithless
it.
Looting.
Yeah, it's just a
Which
weird
is
hybrid
good.
deck. It's all right.
It's pretty consistent.
Yeah, it seemed all right. It's still just not the place you want to be, I think, in the metagame. But it's kind of fun to play because you have a lot of decisions, and since I'm not a very good Magic player, I make them poorly.
Yeah.
But all right, that's what we did this week. Let's break on down to that next topic. I'm just slamming the table over here. And we're slamming these White Claw hard seltzers.
They're super good.
They're
and
really easy to
refreshing
drink.
on a hot day.
We're going to have to stop and take pee breaks randomly throughout this podcast. But we got Battle Bond spoilers. And Battle Bond, if you don't know, is a set that is coming out that is got a super weird theme. Do you know the theme?
It's Two-Headed Giant, right?
Right. That's the idea. That's how you're going to play it in the limited format. You're going to play Two-Headed Giant. But the theme of the plane.
No, I don't know that.
Sports.
Really?
It's the sports plane. Yes, it's all about like arena sports.
That sounds hilarious.
It's kind of crazy to me. Like that's a funny.
So it's kind of like a goofy.
It's a funny choice, to do this. But we have some pretty cool cards. I mean, for the most part. So here's the deal: these cards are not legal in standard. Obviously, they're not going to be legal in modern, which I would love if we got a supplementary modern set every once in a while. It'd be so cool.
I think that would be super awesome.
It'd be so cool, but I guess we get Modern Masters, and that's kind of it,
Well, we were getting Modern Masters.
Yeah. But these cards are legal in Commander, Vintage, and Legacy. Legacy being the important one for me. So sometimes you can get these cool Legacy reprints that are weird. And sometimes you can get modern reprints as well, but you can get these weird Legacy reprints that are really good, and you get to play with super powerful cards. Like being spoiled, we've got things like Swords to Plowshares. Now that's been reprinted a ton.
Yeah,
it's a
bajillion times.
Premium removal spell, but it's still cool to see it get
a reprint. You got fun stuff like Land Tax.
Yeah, Land Tax. Now that's a card that I don't remember the last time that was printed, but that is a super cool thing to have reprinted. Tidespout Tyrant with some new art, so people who play Reanimator, they're gonna have this really cool new art with new. It's awesome. I think it's awesome. It's gonna be really awesome. True Name Nemesis, very important card to think about. This card has never had a foil printing. It will have a foil now. So that card's going to be worth a lot.
It's going to make a lot of people happy.
Yeah, a lot of people. Then we're getting some cool new cards. There is a card, Academy Rector, who, if you don't know, is from Urza's Legacy. It's if it dies, you get to search for an enchantment and put it on the battlefield.
Cool.
Well, now they've made a Planeswalker version. Same mana cost. I think Academy Rector is also a 1/2, but it's 3 and a white. Creature, human cleric. This is a mythic called Arena Rector. And when Arena Rector dies, exile it. If you do, search your library for a Planeswalker card, put it onto the battlefield, and then shuffle your library. So it is a tutor. You can just sack it, get whatever Planeswalker you want. So what are we talking about? Like Ugins?
Yeah.
If you think about this in a legacy sense or something, if there's some sort of weird Nick Fit style deck where you can sacrifice it to anything, a ritual, or you sacrifice it to a Cabal Therapy and then get out your giant Planeswalker and just crush them. Pretty cool. I think it's a cool thing. We got a reprint in Vigor. Vigor's kind of a classic card, a really cool new player card. We got Veteran Explorer. Speaking of Nick Fit, this is great new art too. I really like it. We got some cool stuff. They have these weird Planeswalkers that are going to have a partner.
Yeah, I kind of I dig this mechanic.
So can you explain partner? Because
to my understanding, partner is when you play a card that partners with another card, you search your library for that card and put it into your hand straight up. So it tutors.
Oh, cool.
The card
So it
that
tutors
is
its partner
with it. Yeah.
Okay. And they've printed some pretty cool partner cards, right? Yeah, I think it's cool. I think the set looks way more fun than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Nobody really was talking about this. And now I kind of am looking at it like, it kind of looks fun.
Yeah, so here's the rules text for partner. When this creature enters the battlefield, target player may put... so this is for pure Imaginative Rascal, who's a 3-drop 1/1 legendary creature, human. So he partners with Toothy, Imaginary Fan. I love how goofy it is.
That dude is awesome. I love the art on both of those.
They're really
kind
cool.
of just want those cards for just collector purpose.
So whenever this creature enters the battlefield, target player may put Toothy into their hand from their library, then shuffle. Straight up. So
and then they get bonuses when they're both on the
battlefield
right?
at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, super cool. Yeah, so we've got a lot of cool things. I think the set might be fun. I like having these random weird one-off sets that are just fun.
Plus, for you multiplayer Commander players, they printed
the dual lands,
possibly some of the best Commander dual lands, at least on a budget. Because of course you have access to old dual lands.
Yeah, number one is going to be the original duels, but these are really good. I think the only thing that makes them not second best, if not just best based on value, is the fact that they don't have land types, so you cannot fetch them still. But other than that, they're untapped dual lands as long as you're playing with another player, and the art on them are pretty crazy. So as long as there's more than 2 players in your game.
So it's like 3 to 4 players.
Right. Sour of Temptation getting a reprint as well. Doubling Season getting a reprint. These are some cool modern ones.
Really bad.
Yeah, that card was up to like $70,
which is insane because it's not even really played.
Yeah, but we don't play that much Commander, and Commander can really spike prices every once in a while. And I don't think you can play a green deck in Commander without having Doubling Season. Yeah, so that's Battle Bond. We're gonna see. I think I'll play one. Right?
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Especially if we have an event at the shop, why not?
I've never really liked Two-Headed Giant at all, but I'm definitely down just for the fun of it.
Playing in team events is fun, big actual team events. So I could see the allure of getting your buddy and going to F&M.
Right. All right. So with that being said, we got all the. Oh wait, no, we have one more news thing to talk about. The giant announcement. Mac, I have not really delved, if you will, into this giant announcement. So Mac is going to lead us through what was the huge Wizards announcement this week? What's happening?
When they announced, they released these Battle Bond spoilers and made a couple other small announcements, but the biggest one that they revealed was we are returning to Ravnica.
The return of return?
The return of Ravnica. So we're going to Ravnica for now, I believe, the 3rd time, which is cool.
Right.
Because
that is the 3rd time, yes.
Yeah, I love the plane. It's one of my favorites. I
do like guilds, but...
Yeah, it's fun because you get multicolored creatures, which are super fun.
Is Jace still the living guild pack too, or is that a thing?
I see. That's a thing. I don't necessarily keep up too much with the lore.
Yeah, I need to be better about that a little bit.
But what's interesting, so they revealed the titles for first 2 Ravnica sets. So they don't have blocks anymore, right?
Right.
But they announced when they were doing away with blocks that they would still have sets, but they'd be on the same plane in succession. So they're full size sets on the same plane, but they're not in a block format. So you don't have that small set in the middle. You know what I mean? So the first one is called Guilds of Ravnica, and it is released with guild kits, which is kind of like your pre-release kind of stuff. And I think it's also like the standard decks that they released recently, the pre-cons.
Right.
Yeah, so
they're
it's like
doing away with those, right?
I haven't heard that.
Oh, I thought they were doing away with the cheap precons, and now they're going to make them more elite.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the good ones, like they did vehicles. They did.
Oh, they're going to come up with like these highly like tuned pre-constructed decks.
Yeah,
or
just
whatever?
Better than your average pre-constructed.
More than like 2 rares.
What the guild
bulk.
kits are is a 60 card flavored deck based off of your favorite guild.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's necessarily a pre-release thing, but it comes with pins, stickers, spin downs, all that kind of stuff.
That sounds like a more casual product, actually. Then, but if it's
that,
good,
that
if it's
remains to be seen. So
right. So we won't know. We don't know anything about this really, except for what you're saying. I mean,
yeah. And then the second set, I have a hard time not saying in the block because there are 3 of them, and I'm so used to there being blocks. But the second Ravnica set, new Ravnica set, is called Ravnica Allegiance. And then outside of that, they didn't release any more information, especially regarding the third set, which they specified in the announcement that it would be wrapping up the current arc in the storyline. Like,
so basically, so Ravnica is done for after the third one. Here's what's messed up. They say that they're going to the single set, like block set, like one. Yeah, now we're gonna have 3 that are supposedly standalone sets that are still all going to be on the same plane. It's not even like we're shifting around anywhere.
Which makes me really sad because I was really honestly kind of hoping for a second Dominaria set.
Yeah,
honestly.
Yeah. I mean,
because I really like Dominaria.
I did too, but it's kind of like the nice one-up. I was ready to just. I think it's cool to just change it up every time. Yeah. I mean, I think I'm going to be kind of bummed unless they make Ravnica super awesome. I think I'm going to be bummed when the second time around we're still in Ravnica and it's going to be that. But they're all supposed to be big sets. Yeah. None of them are supposed to. It's not going to be like big, small, or whatever. It's going to be big, small, because big. Like Gate Crash and Dragon's Maze, those were like people love Return to Ravnica, but Gate Crash and Dragon's Maze were huge flops. Mm-hmm. You know, they were not. People did not like those sets. I thought they were fun. It was kind of at the time where I was like buying. Yeah,
that's when I was like super into Standard 2, and I was like playing Sphinx's Revelation. And
that stuff was awesome. And you know, there's certain good cards that came out of them, but they were flops compared to Return to Ravnica.
I would agree.
So, what kind of reprints do you think we'll get? Another Deathrite Shaman?
I hope not.
I mean, so.
Well, I think getting, but
we won't.
Like if they reprint Deathrite Shaman, because is it even expensive? Deathrite Shaman?
No, because they just reprinted it.
Yeah. So I don't think they'll ever. And after learning their lesson with Deathrite Shaman, I don't think they'll ever print a card in a standard set that's on that.
It wasn't that good in standard though. You know what I mean?
I mean, but think about how broken it is in modern.
Yeah,
and
but
Legacy
I mean. Yeah, but it's already banned in modern, so you know.
I
just saw maybe Sphinx's Revelation again. I just wonder how many actual Ravnica reprints we might get. Maybe old Ravnica reprints. Hopefully we don't get that much. Yeah, you know, maybe we only get a few.
What's weird because like they did Dominaria and there wasn't any reprints in Dominaria outside of. I can't even think of any off the top of my head. Any big reprints for tonal formats, at least.
But here, so I mean, that's why they're bringing back core sets, and I love that because now core sets can kind of wrap up all these cards.
Which I'm getting super excited for Core 19.
Yeah, I think it's great, and a lot of people poo-poo on core sets. I like them. I think they're Titans fun. Back. Yeah, I think they provide something that you need in a standard rotation, and that is like we can put pithy needles in here. Mm-hmm. We can put. You know, these weird cards that you just kind of want to have that you don't want to put in a main set.
Your dedicated hate cards that no one wants to
cards
open.
That just can kind of help the format, help the help the standard format kind of come along and like fix things that are going wrong.
That's what core sets always were. They printed these cards that were the structure and this backbone of the standard format. You know, for all of your whatever archetypes you have as far as what decks are being played in the metagame. I'd say my biggest reprint question about going back to Ravnica is, are they going to reprint Shocklands?
Yeah, that's probably the biggest one. I hope they do. It's about time, right? And Shocklands have been going up in price a lot recently. Mm-hmm. Maybe they'll start falling. I'm not sure.
As we get closer, you mean? And when Shocklands were in Standard last, was probably like one of the best points in Standard play of all time.
Yeah, I do. And like Shocklands.
I think that is a big due largely in part to having a solid mana base, because when you get Buddy Lands plus Shocklands, and then even they had fetches when Cons came out, which was because wasn't Cons
no.
And there was a block in between them.
There were not shock fetches in Standard. There was,
because in Return to Ravnica you had Shocklands.
Yeah, that had rotated out before.
Yeah, what was the set in between?
But they did have fetchable. What were the fetchable lands?
Is it the enter the tapped lands that have both land types?
Yeah, I think.
See, I wasn't playing Standard at the time.
At one point they had that.
But
I kind of didn't play Standard
lands
either.
Now that also have both.
Yeah,
types.
So there's all kinds of things. We'll see. It's a lot to be determined.
Ultimately it's exciting, I think.
All right, guys. I think it's time to get down to the meat of the episode, where we review this week's tournament results. Like I said at the beginning, you're coming here to hear some results, so I hope you are ready for Modern Tuesday or Wednesday when you're probably listening to this. All right. We had SCG Modern open Louisville. SCG's just a great tour sometimes, but they're always over here, so I feel bad for those people in California.
Yeah, the West Coast guys that never
but
really get them.
I feel glad for me, even though I don't get to go to as many as I want. But it was taken down by Marshall Arthurs, piloting none other than the Jerry T. Special Mardu Pyromancer. I don't know if I can call this the Jerry T. Special, though, because this was actually kind of really created by a Magic Online player. Mm-hmm. But I think this is a...
I'd say he made it popular in paper.
He popularized it, though, definitely at the Pro Tour. Young Pyromancer, 4 of them. 4 Bedlam Revelers. 4 Faithless Looting. That card is just really good.
You're seeing it everywhere.
People play it. 3 Fatal Push, 4 Inquisition, 4 Lightning Bolt, 3 Thought Seize, 3 Collective Brutality, 1 Dreadbore because it's got modes, 3 Culligan's Commands because it's got modes, 4 Lingering Souls, and 3 Blood Moon. And we were just talking about this. Mm-hmm. I think Blood Moon is making this weird comeback. I don't think these decks typically ran 3 Blood Moons, man. I think they started off with like
1 or 2.
None,
maybe.
and then 1, and then now they're starting to like climb up. Now I think this is a really good Blood Moon deck.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things is that they have Ensnaring Bridge and Campbell in the side. I do not think those were normal additions originally.
This is the first time I've seen sideboard tech like this.
I think it's super cool, and it makes me a little bit want to play this deck because now it feels a little bit more like this. Kill you with 1/1s, dump because they dump their hand so fast. It's like a prison deck that has. It's a prison deck that can like beat you up. Mm-hmm. I mean, the only thing I don't like about this deck is similar to Death Shadow. You are on the back foot for so long, but when you gain control of when you get control back,
when you can finally stick a Pyromancer,
when you stabilize, it's over. I don't think you can come back.
It is tough playing a deck that only has 8 threats. I mean, I guess you have Lingering Souls.
You got Lingering Souls, yeah.
So you can't.
And Young Pyromancer ends up being, by the time you play it, Young Pyromancer is probably 2 threats in itself. So, and Bedlam Reveler, I don't know. You also have just Blood Moon. Blood Moon is a threat.
That's what I was about to say. I think people playing this deck have realized now that they're moving to more Blood Moons that they can supplement having a low threat density with the ability to just lock their opponent out of the game.
They can also play 20 lands because they have like the 4 Faithless Lootings. Their cards are pretty efficient.
Their curve
look how many
low.
Look how many 1-mana spells they have. It's just insane.
1, 2, 3, 4, 7.
It's ridiculous. I mean, it's
That's
ton.
a bunch.
Lingering Souls is, it's just really good. We also have Liliana, the Last Hope in the sideboard. 3 Campbell, which I really love. Just crush Storm or crush any of the control decks. Surgical Extractions, 3 of them in the sideboard. That is aggressive. In a Legacy deck, I could see that. Yeah. But in this modern format, that is aggressive. But it's cool. So congratulations, Marshall Arthurs.
Well, I also, before we move off of this, I like seeing Wear Tear because it doesn't get very much love.
Yeah, Wear Tear is, if you're playing Mardu, there's nothing better. If you're playing Jeskai, you got to play Wear Tear. Yeah. Speaking of Jeskai, he defeated Jonathan Hobbs in the finals, who was on Jeskai Control.
He's only running 1 Wear Tear in his sideboard, so there you go.
He's running it.
That's what did it.
But guess what? He's running his main deck, 2 Teferi. Teferi, dude. No, Teferi.
You mean Jace, the Mind Sculptor, hero of Dominaria?
Yeah, you mean better than Jace, Mind Sculptor? We unbanned Jace, and then they were like, well, let's print Teferi, and like he's probably not that great. When they spoiled this card, people were like, he's all right, but he's 5 mana. He'll never make it in anywhere. He's stupid, and everyone plays him, and he's gonna be everywhere.
They're not even playing Jace.
There's no reason to. There's not even a Jace in the sideboard, is there? Yeah, Teferi has quickly moved to, I think, probably the best control planeswalker now there is.
This is kind of one of those lists, though, is like, it's the no-win con control. I guess they have 4 Snapcaster mages.
They have 4 Snapcasters and a lot of burns. So I would, and they have a Secure the Waste.
Oh yeah, I guess.
So I don't think
really
this is a no-win con.
And the helixes.
And the weird thing is that they're playing Gideon Ally of Zendikar because I think that they want to capitalize on like when they're playing the kind of control matchup or they're playing like a Jund style deck, they can just start smashing with Gideons. Yeah. Like I don't feel like Gideon Ally of Zendikar is a typical.
I kind of like the 3-mana Gideon more.
That's more of a control Gideon.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is I think they have a weird...
Like this, where they can turn the corner flip, and hit the
and just I kind of think this is cool. I would prefer... This is more my style of a deck. Serum Vision... Okay, we'll just go through it real quick. 4 Snapcaster Mage, 1 Gideon, 2 Teferi, 3 Lightning Bolts, 4 Pass, 1 Secure the Waste, 4 Serum, 3 Lightning Helix, 3 Logic Knots, 1 Negate. Love that Negate is just getting main deck play right now. 2 Electrolyze, 4 Cryptic Commands, 2 Supreme Verdicts, and 2 Search for Azcanta. Also the little engine that could. Lands, love it because they're only playing 3 Celestial Colonnades. If you've listened to this podcast at all, you know that I'm a huge proponent of never playing the 4th. Only 1 Field of Ruin, so this has gone a lot away from that land destruction that control decks were on.
Well, I think that
also 3 colors.
I think it's a lot better when you're running mono color or just a 2-color deck. I think Field of Ruin is much better.
Definitely. But I've definitely seen Jeskai decks running 3 Field of Ruin.
The one cool thing about Field of Ruin in this deck is since you're just running the 1 of Mountain, is like you can easily Field of Ruin just to fetch for that 3rd color that you're missing.
Correct. Let's talk about the sideboard. Sideboard, we've got 1 Engineered Explosives, 2 Dispel, 2 Celestial Celestial Purge, 1 Disdainful Stroke, 1 Negate, 1 Ruined Halo, 1 Detention Sphere, 2 Clicks, 1 Settle, 1 Baneslayer Angel whenever he really wants to hit him. Do you know what else could be here?
Is the new one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe not. No, this is still better just on its own. But man, I don't know. Is it better? I don't know. They're comparable. They're the same thing. 1 Elspeth Sun's Champion and 1 Wear and Tear. I'm not a fan of Jeskai decks. Everybody knows that. I think I'm going to build this deck.
Really?
I do.
I like a whole bunch.
I have all these cards. I think... No, I don't have Cryptic Commands anymore. No,
I also traded away my Cryptic Commands right before they got real popular again, and I feel kind of bad about it.
I might just build this deck because it seems like a deck that is like, I don't know. I just haven't played any deck like this in a long time, and I kind of just want to do it. It's a burn deck. This is a burn deck.
I've been on Jeskai for a while, but not Jeskai Control. I've been playing Jeskai Taking Turns.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the same deal where... rather than my Gideon Ally Zendikar and my Teferi, I have this turns package, and I still can burn my opponent out, or I can just, smash. I'm not going to get into talking about my deck, but I do like Jeskai, and being a control player traditionally, I really enjoy this deck. I like it I like it a lot. I think personally, I would not play the red splash. I think I would just play straight up blue-white control.
Oh, well, that's just way too much control for me. Yeah. I definitely understand what you're saying. Here comes, okay, so let's just compare this to the 4th place list by Jimmy Smith, also playing Jeskai Control, but this is Snapcaster, Geist of St. Traft, and Spell Queller version with even more burn.
I really like this version.
No main deck Supreme Verdicts, obviously, because you're playing, like, Spell Quellers and Geist of St. Traft's. And he has a Lyra Dawnbringer on the side.
Yeah, so
because
the
basically they're the exact same
identical.
thing. Yeah, we've got
he's
a P and Kieran,
yeah.
One Surgical, which I like, a second Dispel. His land base is almost exactly the same.
Yeah, just the one Field of Ruin.
Yeah, I like this deck. It's fine. It's a... I like the Teferi. Honestly, I like the Teferi and the Gideon and the other deck.
Having played Cryptic Command a lot in the past, I feel like 4 Cryptic Command could be pretty clunky. Possibly.
I mean, it's just like Control, though. You kind of have to have it. And especially in a version that doesn't run any...
other counter spells?
Well, yeah, they don't even run any other... Yeah, they have to have it.
Yeah.
But they don't have any Wraths
either.
Spell
Queller.
Yeah, and you just kill them.
Yeah.
Like you tap them out and kill them. But we also have 3rd place, Green-White Hexproof.
I hate this deck.
A deck that I haven't seen in a while, but it's a deck that just shows up and whoops ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it shows up, people can't beat it.
It's the new Infect.
Is there anything in this deck that seems new? If you've seen this deck, you've kind of seen all of them. They've got 2 Tecatli Honor Guard, probably for the humans matchup. I don't really think there's much else going on here.
I don't think I've ever seen mainboard try Clopian Sight before.
All right, let's read that card. It's 1 and a white. It is from Lorwyn, which it seems like half this deck is from. Flash, enchant creature. When Triclopian Sight comes into play, untap enchanted creature. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 and has vigilance. Basically, it's ambush Viper somebody with one of your dudes.
Which seems kind of like a niche card because typically when you're playing this deck, you're on the aggro plan. So...
Well, I think, maybe it's just for
like
the mirror. You just gain even more life. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's fine. I feel like maybe having a second cartouche might be better. I don't know. I don't know. I've never played the deck. Yeah. So, but this is very much, you're right. This is kind of like Infect.
Yeah.
Now let's get into 5th place, the number 1 deck. Basically, the number 1 deck right now in the meta game for Modern is Humans, and Humans it couldn't take down the tournament, but it did put Dylan Hand in 5th place. His list is very, very standard at this point. We've got 2 Restoration Angels. That's kind of the play spot. Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's 2 Resto Angels, sometimes it's like a Resto Angel and another 2-mana human that you don't know which one. I'd say his is pretty much exactly the same. They're all cutting down to 3 Thalias because basically Storm is just on the outs big time. And you're either playing Restos or you've got like about 3 flex spots.
Yeah.
Right?
I've also noticed Humans decks playing less of the fast lands.
Yeah, I think this land base right now is basically what they've been on though for a minute. But yeah, the 2 Seachromes, if they're okay, so the one that you're talking about with the more fast lands is if they're playing Collected Company. If they're playing Collected Company, there's a lot.
Vial?
If you're playing Aether Vial, this has been their land base for a while.
Gotcha.
And
That's probably where I'm getting confused. I like seeing Gutshot in the sideboard. I think that is hilarious.
I like Gutshot. I like the double Kataki, the double Dire Fleet, and the double Oriok Champions. I think the sideboard is really clean. We got 2 Izzet Satacasters, 2 Rex Sages, 2 Sin Collectors, 1 Dismember. I think it's just a very clean, nice sideboard. It's clear what you're bringing things in for. Yeah. And I think Resto Angel's just a cool 3/4 beat or 2 in games that you might need to. Plus, all your creatures do things that are important, Yeah,
you get to flicker Thalia's Lieutenant. You get to flicker if you ever want to change Phantasmal Image.
Yeah, Reflector Mages.
Oh no!
You can't target. You can't target.
I thought it was just opponents.
No,
but if you want to change Meddling Mage, if you want to choose a different
Meddling
card
Mage,
Kite Sail Freebooter,
Reflector Mage, Savior Manus Rider, Thalia's Lieutenant. there's a lot of things you can do.
It just
with that.
synergizes
Just
really
really
well
good.
with
It
the entire
just-
deck.
yeah.
Honestly. Plus, if you've got nothing else going on and you just have a Restoration Angel and a Noble Hierarch, you get to smash for 4 with flying
Right.
every turn. So basically, it's kind of just like 2 more Manus Riders.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. The other thing we've got, though, is speaking of, Storm is kind of becoming irrelevant. There is still Storm in this top 16. Well, top 8, and then one at 18th. But Caleb Shearer. So, I mean, what are you going to... I mean, Caleb Shearer's great at Storm player. Interesting, he's cut down to only 6 creatures of the Bears. This is Storm, though, and it's Caleb Shearer. We've got one unsubstantiated.
Unsubstantiated?
Wow, that's the word. We've got a Chandra Torch of Defiance in the sideboard. I think that's a little bit new tech. Other than that, this deck is, I mean, this is the deck. He doesn't play fetches. If you guys have heard us talk about it before, this is Storm.
I think it's interesting because Storm kind of has the affinity syndrome right now, where everybody packs a lot of hate for affinity, and it's on the out for a while, and you don't really see it in top 8s, and then every year, it comes and rolls the top 8 at GP Vegas or whatever.
Yeah, I agree.
Because everyone's like, oh, affinity's irrelevant now. We don't need to pack as much artifact hate, and then no one's ready for it in the field. So I think that's kind of what
exactly how this deck goes.
I think that's how
it's
Storm
just like
pops up
Dredge
every
and
once in a while.
Legacy.
Exactly.
When somebody stops packing graveyard hate for a second,
You get
Dredge
rolled by
just
Dredge.
wins
Yep.
the tournament. Let's talk about 7 and 8 though, because I'm pretty sure, even though they were only in 7 and 8, Jesse Hefner, a well-known player, and Jadine Klomparens, well-known player. Guess what? They were on Jund. And they're playing the Bloodbraid Elves. Actually, I haven't looked at Jesse Hefner's deck yet. But we are talking about JD, and she's got 3 Dark Confidants, 3 Scavenging Ooze, 4 Tarmogoyfs, 4 Bloodbraid Elves, 4 Liliana of the Veil.
I like that a lot.
2 Push, 2 Inquisition, 3 Bolt, 2 Thoughtseize, 1 Abrupt Decay, 1 Terminate, 2 Culligan's Command, 2 Maelstrom Pulse, 25 lands. It's a lot of lands.
Yeah, it is. Only
But
2 Raging Ravine.
You got to cast those Bloodbraid Elves. I had to crack another White Claw. I'm sorry for that. Sideboard, we've got an Engineered Explosive, Grafdigger's Cage, Grim Lavamancer, Neil Spellbomb, Thoughtseize, Collective Brutality, 3 Fulminators, Liliana, and a Damnation. Let's compare this to Jesse Hefner's Jund list real fast, and then we'll talk about it. Jesse Hefner is opting to play a Liliana the Last Hope on top of his 4 Veils, only playing 3 Bloodbraid Elves. He's adding a Tireless Tracker.
Up 1 Dark Confidant.
Up a Dark Confidant.
Down a Scoos.
Other than that, he's pretty much the same. He's playing cheaper spells, though. More cheap spells.
Yeah.
In lieu of a second Colligan's Command and second Maelstrom Pulse. And he's playing 24 lands instead of 25. Sideboard, almost identical.
He's on 3 Raging Ravine as opposed to the other list. And
Yeah.
he's also on no Treetop Village, whereas the 25 land list that we previously discussed was on 2.
Yeah. I like that, though.
I really like Treetop Village.
I don't know. What do you think about these decks? What do you think about Jund right now?
I like Jund. I think it's good. It's got a good humans matchup. As good as you can hope to have against humans, I suppose. I think that a lot of Jund decks, right when Bloodbraid Elf got unbanned, were like, oh, sweet, we're playing 4 Bloodbraid Elf just straight up. I don't think that's where they want to be. That's kind of a high curve for what they're wanting to do. So I think 2 to 3 Bloodbraid Elf is good. I don't like so much just the 1 Tireless Tracker, because I think that card is super underplayed, actually. And it's played a lot less now that Abzan has been on the outs for a while, because they had some serious Tireless Tracker love. Scavenging Ooze is also super. It's a good stuff deck. They have all the best creatures for the cheapest cost that do the best things. I like the main board Liliana of the Last Hope more than not having it. However, I think I would not run 4 Liliana of the Veil plus the 5th Planeswalker. I think I would just stick to 4 and maybe opt that 4th Liliana of the Veil for a 25th land. I don't know, particularly because I haven't played mid-range very much, how I feel about 3 Raging Ravine versus 2 Raging Ravine and 2 Treetop Village. I feel like having the 2 and 2 split seems better. However, with only running 24 lands as opposed to 25, I think maybe the 3 Raging Ravine would be their better choice, having gone down a land.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm not sure. I really love Treetop Village, but I trust JD and Comparons a lot with Jund. I mean, she's like the female Reed Duke of this deck. But I also just don't think Jund is great right now. But it put 2 in the top 8. I don't see any more in the top 16. There's one more in the top 32. But basically, that wraps up your top 8. I mean, that was our tournament. I feel like it was a good tournament. Cool stuff was seen. We'll just talk quickly about some of the splash decks before we get into the other tournaments. But we've got Todd Stevens bringing back Green White Company. We've got Burn in there, a Grixis Death Shadow played by Brandon Dollaway. We also had a Grixis Death Shadow played by Dylan Donegan. Black Red Hollow one, a couple copies of Elves.
Yeah, which is cool.
Kind of interesting.
1 copy of Blue Moon.
1 copy of Blue Moon and 1 copy of Amulet Titan. And Amulet Titan is actually by Austin Robbins. He's playing Wayward Swordtooth. So you've got something a little new in that deck. But other than that, it's exactly the same.
Infect deck in 17th, which is interesting because Infect's been on the out for a while. But there always seems to be that one Infect deck that, gets
that
at
can
least
just,
top 64
it can just show
or
up.
32, yeah.
Lightning Bolt was the number 1 played card in this tournament, followed by Path to Exile and Serum Visions. All right, let's move to the next tournament. We're going to talk about the Classic pretty fast because we still have a couple other tournaments to talk about. In the Classic, the people who did not make day 2 decided to come and battle again, and it was taken down by Michael Coyle playing Blue Red Prison. And I do want to talk about this deck because it is a super weird deck. It has been called... I'm trying to remember what this deck has been called. Salt Mine, because you get really salty when playing against it. It's worse. It's worse to play against this than it is to play against Lantern Control. This is a Whir of Invention deck with all artifacts. We've got Tezzeret the Seeker as like a win con. 1 Witchbane Orb, 1 Bottled Cloister, which if you don't know what that is a 4-mana artifact that says at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, remove your hand from the game face down. At the beginning of your upkeep, return all those cards removed from your hand with Bottled Cloister to your hand, then draw a card, so it draws you an extra card each turn.
Plus, it also makes your Ensnaring Bridge
really good on their turn.
Really, really good.
Ensnaring Bridge, we've got 4 of them. 1 Crucible, because Crucible is actually more important in this deck than I think in a lot of the others. Sorcerer Spyglass, we've got 2. 2 Pyrite Spell Bombs. That's actually a win condition in this deck. Grafdigger's Cage, Expedition Map, Welding Jar, Tormod's Crypt, Mox Opal, Mishra's Bauble, Engineer Explosive, Chalice of the Void.
It's got everything.
It's got every artifact that you could ever want to play. Lands, we've got Academy Runes, very important in this deck. Cascade Bluffs, Flooded Strand, Ghost Quarter, very important in this deck. Inventor's Fair, important. Ipnu Rivulet,
which this
also,
is new, and I think this is kind of what brought
the win condition.
Yeah, because you get to Crucible back your Ipnu Rivulet every turn and just mill your opponent
mill
out.
them out. It's a slow, painful death.
I'd be so upset if someone milled me out.
You also get to Ghost Quarter them to death if you have to. You get to do everything. You get to bring back your fetches, fade your deck. You don't care what they're drawing. In the sideboard, we've got 2 more Chalices, 1 Welding Jar, 1 Dampening Sphere, 1 Defense Grid, 2 Sorcerer's Spyglass, 4 Spellskite, 1 Torpor Orb, 2 Gear per Aether Grid if you need to ping down their creatures, and 1 Padim, Console of Innovation. And this may seem like a weird card to you, but I actually retained 4 of them because I was like, this card could maybe have a spot one day. It is a 4-mana legendary creature, Vidalcan. Padim says artifacts you control have hexproof. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control the artifact with the highest converted mana cost or tied for the highest converted mana cost, draw a card. So it's a 1/4, doesn't die to Bolt, doesn't die to Fatal Push unless they crack something. That draws you another card and prevents your artifacts from dying.
Yeah,
so I think it's pretty cool.
Not only do they have to remove your creature, but like they also have to still have artifact hate. It's super cool. It's great for decks that pack a lot of artifact hate.
Yeah.
I also really like in the land base having 4 Talaria West when you have so many 0-drop artifacts. Like especially when you're running 4 main board.
Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about that. Yeah, you can grab anything. Yeah. I love this deck. I think it's super cool. I think that people would be super mad if I played it around our meta.
I wouldn't play you.
Yeah, exactly. No one would test with me, so that's the only reason I haven't built this deck. I definitely have all of the cards for this deck because they're all right up my alley. I just love artifacts. But I don't know if I just want to be in that. I don't know if that's what I want to be doing. I'll do it. Eventually, I will try this deck.
Yeah, maybe just like one F&M or something.
Yeah, eventually I will try this deck. But that beat Green Red Tron by Connor Sloan. Green Red Tron. I mean, can you believe that? It beat Tron. I mean, that seems like a deck that just shouldn't beat Tron.
It's interesting because we haven't seen much of Tron recently.
Yeah, but like Ulamog should beat that deck. Karn should beat that deck. Ugin should be. These are cards. Well, Ugin won't, but Karn. I mean, Ugin still can just bolt them every turn. It just feels
but the thing is, they just were of invention for Witchbane Orb.
That's
and then
true.
Ugin's
There's just nothing they can do.
Irrelevant. I mean, I guess you can nag Ugin. Like if you can slam Ugin and exile their board.
You can't exile their board because they're all artifacts. They're all colorless. So Ugin is. That's why I was saying he's not that good unless you bolt them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just it's crazy to me. But yeah, you're right. We have not seen Tron in a while. This is pretty much mono green Tron. They're playing Horizon Canopy, and that's about it.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I've noticed I really like how Field of Ruin has kind of taken this place of Ghost Quarter because it's Ghost Quarter but better. It's Ghost Quarter but fetches you a land.
Right.
So I think that's cool to see a one of Field of Ruin in the land base.
In third place, we've got a Karn of Scion of Ugin, Urza, whatever. 4-mana spell, $65. Brand new. We've got 2 Midnights, 4 Ornithopters, 1 Hope of Girapur. So what deck am I talking about? It's Affinity. We're back. 3 Vault Scourge, 3 S Champion, 4 Steel Overseer. Usually people cut on other cards, but they're cutting on this. Or they kept all the Overseers and I don't know. Maybe don't cut the Vault. I don't know. That's hard. That's hard to tell. They're deciding to run the 1 Karn, but still play the 4 Galvanic Blast. And they cut a Springleaf Drum. That's kind of interesting. But I could see that still. Yeah. 17 lands. They're your basic lands. Sideboard, anything interesting? We've got 2 Heroic Intervention, 1 Bitter Blossom. Double Blood Moon instead of just the single one. And a Rule of Law. It's Affinity, dude. Yeah. It's going to win some games.
And you got the classic extra Etch Champion for those problematic matchups when you got to block Gurmag Anglers and all that noise. I really like having Karn as a thing now.
Yeah, Karn's cool. Karn is cool. Just kind of rounding out, we've got an Ad Nauseam deck in 6, another Tron deck. So we've got Tron in 2nd, 4th, and 7th. Black Red Hollow 1 in 8th. Mardu Pyromancer in 9th, another Affinity. Humans. Black White Control we can look at real quick. Black White Control is kind of the Gideon.
Yeah, like the Planeswalker tribal kind of thing.
Yeah. And other than that, it's playing Cast Downs. It's playing a Wrath of God, a Day of Judgment, a Damnation, because you can't have humans naming one of your,
You've
spells.
also got 1 Bontu's left.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. Yeah, Bontu's seeing
they're running
modern
4
play.
board wipes, all different board wipes, which is
you have to now because of Meddling Mage.
Yep.
So that's kind of cool. That's a new deck. Kazu Negri, a dude who comes from our area, playing Jeskai Control. He's had some really good finishes with this lately. Congratulations to him in 13th. Jund Merfolk, haven't seen that in a while. Blair Peter. Is this Merfolk deck playing anything interesting? Nah, it's pretty much right on them. Smuggler's Copters.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's they've been starting to I think, like some people play it, some don't.
It just kind of speeds up their clock.
Yeah.
Back to the Black-White Control just super fast.
Okay.
And the sideboard I found really interesting while I was looking at it there for just a minute was this is the first deck that I've seen in a top 32 that is running 3 Dampening Spheres.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people saying that card's just really not worth it. But, I mean, it seems good when it's good, All right, so to the Modern Challenge on MTGO. I really love looking at the results of the Modern Challenge because I think it's
such a different metagame online.
It is, and people are just so hardcore spiky on this thing. Mm-hmm. So we have the only 7-0 list was Dr. Hades, Black Red Hollow one, and we hadn't seen that much Hollow one in the paper tournaments. We were seeing it, but not like we're seeing it online, and it crushed. This is the complete. I mean, this is basically the list that everyone kind of knows, except he's running 2 dampening spheres in the sideboard,
Which
terminate.
is kind of an interesting choice.
He cut on big game hunters, I think, and he's running 2 slag storms. Cutting on big game hunters, I think, is a big deal because basically Eldrazi is on a big out. We are going to see it at a 5 and 2, but for the most part, Grixis Death Shadow, Eldrazi both on the out. But doesn't Big Game Hunter take care of the mirror?
Yeah, so your big game hunter gets to kill opposing hollow ones. It gets to kill Gurmag anglers. It's great against Eldrazi. So it's one of your best sideboard cards in the mirror. And it's also just good against a ton of the rest of the field. You know, you can kill Tarmogoyfs, you can kill anything with power 4 or greater. And it synergizes, not only that, but it also synergizes really, really well with your game plan. Because even if you don't have a creature to kill, now it's interesting because you have to watch, because if you make the mistake of being like, yeah, I'll pay 1 black and play my dude, and you're the only one with a 4-power creature, it's not a May ability. So that's something for all of you Hollow One players out there that if you haven't played the deck much, watch out for that. But just getting a free 1/1 off of, or not free, but 1 mana 1/1, just a chump blocker off of already doing what you do is super. It's not bad.
Right. Yeah, I think it's cool. It's definitely not bad. 6 and 1 list. We're just probably going to talk about those. Maybe we'll bring up some of the weird other ones if we can find any. But 6 and 1 list, we've got Affinity, Dredge, Jund, and Blue Red, and you White control. The Affinity list is running. Is basically the Karn Affinity list that's been online, been winning in the challenges for a while. Is the double Karn 3 Galvanic Blast list. Dredge, we have not seen do well in Modern for a while. Every time I see Dredge do well, I'm like, dude, I want to play this deck because I love Life from the Loam, and I don't get to cast a card enough because I don't get to play Legacy enough. Yeah. So I'm like, God, I just want to play Life from the Loam. Let's play this deck. Every time I play this deck, I get so angry because I just don't get good dredges or something. I don't know. It's probably me, but there's something about this deck that bothers me that I just feel like the variance is so high.
Now that Hollow One is a thing, I just don't know that Dredge is the best graveyard deck.
Yeah, play. I mean, Conflagrate is a great card. Life from the Loam is a great card, but yes, I agree.
Don't get me wrong. I've lost to Dredge a lot.
Yeah. It's frustrating. I mean, it beats Hollow One, doesn't it?
It does. It's actually a pretty terrible matchup. I had such a rough time with our local Dredge player when I first started playing Hollow One that I specifically sideboarded Anger of the Gods just so the matchup wasn't so bad. And that's pretty much anytime I would play him, the only way I could beat him is if I'm like...
Yeah, because I feel like you collected... Or what's the... Burning Inquiry, and then they're just like, sweet.
Thank you.
Let's dredge a whole bunch. Okay, Yama Killer's playing Jund. Pretty much the... This is the Jesse Hefner list. Pretty much. There's like maybe 1 card difference. He's playing a Hazoret in the sideboard. Totally love it. Love Hazoret in Modern. He's an awesome card. Saw Affinity list with Hazoret in the main. It was really tight. Really liked it. Blue Red is a thing in the ice. Blue Red deck. What do you think about this deck? 4 and 1 or 6 and 1?
I really like Thing in the Ice. Having played it and taking turns for a long time now, I think it's a really underrated card.
It's basically a Blue-Red Pyromancer deck.
Yeah, and this did really well at the Pro Tour also, which was cool.
Double Roast main, I really like.
Yeah, that's
a Braid main, I really like.
I think that's also an interesting meta call as far as online goes. Being able to handle Gurmag Anglers and...
I think Roast is great anytime.
You think so?
I think it's a card that people should be playing if they're playing red, and or at least in their sideboard, and they just weren't.
I think 3 main board Ancestral Vision is really interesting.
You are right. This is the same deck that did well at the Pro Tour. I kind of thought it was a little different, but it's not.
Except this one gets Field of Ruin, whereas we didn't have Field of Ruin during the last Pro Tour, right? I'm pretty sure. I may be wrong about that. Don't quote me.
We had it. Let's see here. Okay, 5 and 2 Affinity, 5 and 2 Black Red Hollow One, Black Red Hollow One. Eldrazi. Let's just look at it just in case they've done anything different, because the deck is I mean, the deck has just died almost. Okay, cool. We've got 2 Karns, which makes sense. 3 Endbringers, 4 Walking Ballista, 4 the typical stuff. But now we're playing 2 Dismember, 2 All Is Dust, 2 Spatial Contortions, 1 Warping Wail. All things I think need to happen. There's no Chalice of the Void in this deck. Mm-hmm. They cut Chalice of the Void because basically Chalice of the Void just wasn't doing anything recently. Let's see if
I think Chalice on 1 is still really good, though. It was especially good when Death Shadow was a thing.
Yeah.
But
it just is getting worse, though, because it's still good. But I can see them cutting this. Now, do they have Chalices in the sideboard? No, they don't even have Chalices in the sideboard. But the 5-0 lists that have been playing, or that have been placing in the just leagues, are still playing Chalices, but everybody's playing Karn Scion of Ugin now.
Yep.
And I don't know. I just kind of think maybe the Spatial Contortions are just better than having Chalices right now. Like just having more removal,
very possible,
and just getting out your big threats and winning the game that way.
Really loving seeing more Gut Shot in all these. There's been multiple sideboards that I've looked at as we've been discussing all of these different deck lists, and I keep seeing Gut Shot pop up, and I think that card's super good. You know, you get to just kill a Champion of Perish after already tapping out for an Expedition map on turn 1.
Right. The only other deck I wanted to talk about was called Grixis Delver, but guess what? There's absolutely no Delvers in this deck, so poo on you. I'm not talking about the deck. All right, moving on to the SCG Standard Classic. We don't know that much about Standard, so we're going to run through these pretty quickly.
Yep.
Blue-White Control was the winner, Ben Weinberg. This is the version that has no win conditions. 4 Teferis is going to make you have to win game 1, or you probably aren't going to finish 3 games. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, you win game 1, and that's probably the end. It literally mills you out by putting Teferi back in your deck with its own -3 ability, and you'll never mill when they will mill.
Plus, well, I guess they also have Ipnu Rivulet, too.
That's just kind of helps,
speeds
but
it up
it's
just a little bit.
It doesn't even matter. You're never going to mill with Teferi. So it's cool. It's interesting seeing that. I feel like this deck almost makes me not want to play Standard unless I am playing that deck, because I think it's going to be extremely boring, and it also plays in third.
Well, as far as what you and I play Standard-wise is we play Arena, and I run into this deck. Similar. They don't have Fumigates.
Right.
But this deck, essentially, I run into it on Arena all the time, and I play Mono Back Control, and it is just by far the most abysmal matchup, especially in a best-of-1 format. It's just every time I hop on, I'm sitting there and I'm waiting for match, and I'm just crossing my fingers. I'm like, please not blue-white, please not blue-white, please not blue-white.
Yeah, it's rough. In second place, we have Mono Red. I do like this deck, and it's not Black-Red like we thought. It's just Mono Red. We're even playing some interesting choices. Bomat Courier, 2 Soulscar Mages instead of 4, 2 Carry Zevs, 4 Chain Whirlers, 4 Hazaret, 4 Rekindling Phoenix, 2 Chandra, 2 Magma Spray, 2 Shock, 4 Abrade, because we're ready to fight anything artifact related. Yeah. We got to kill those Hardikurans. One fight with fire, which is super sweet, because if you make me exile all my creatures and get a whole bunch of mountains, and then I can just 10 you to the dome. Yeah. We even go up to 4 fight with fires out of the sideboard. It also kills Lyra or Lyra or whatever her name is, and we got it's super cool. Cool deck.
It's interesting too, because I think I made this call a while back when I was playing Arena, actually, because Mono Red's a really popular deck on there too. I was like, now that Chain Whirler's a thing and you have to worry about having triple red, I could see decks playing less Scavenger Grounds. And before Chain Whirler, they were playing 4, and now this deck is down to 2. So I find that really interesting that they are moving down in Scavenger Grounds.
The rest of the decks, I'm just going to go through them until we get to the deck that actually the only deck I really want to talk about. But we've got Blue-White Control again, White-Blue Gift. We've seen White-Blue Gift. We know what the deck is. Mono-Green Stompy, nothing has changed there. We know it's a Galta big-time deck. White-Black Vehicles, everybody thought was going to be too good. It's not. I think these other decks have kind of shown up in like Blue-White Control and Mono-Red now that they've been flashed out, or Black-Red. But in 7th place, Benjamin Smith with Blue-Black Improvise. This is a deck that I totally love.
Yeah.
I mean, look at this deck. It's so tight.
Merchant Stockhand. I've never heard of this card.
Merchant Stockhand is a 1-mana 1/2 artifact creature construct. You can play 4, 3 in a blue, tap it, and tap X untapped artifacts you control. Look at the top X cards of your library. Put one of them into your hand, and the rest on the bottom anywhere. So cool. I'll just grab whatever I want.
Yeah.
We got Herald of Anguishes, which you're casting real fast. And I don't know why this card never was huge. It's so awesome. I mean, I thought this card could possibly be played in Modern at one point. It's got Improvise, which means, you get a cheat on mana if you're playing artifacts. It's 5 in black, 5/5 flyer. At the beginning of your instep, each opponent discards a card.
It just keeps getting better.
You can pay 2, sack an artifact, and a creature gets -2/-2 until end turn.
Insane,
It's so
actually.
good. Karn, 3 Karns, 1 Tezzeret, the Schemer. Cool, we just need one. 1 Battle of the Bridge, gains you a bunch of life, improvise -X spell. 2 Fatal Pushes, 3 Metallic Rebukes, great counterspell whenever you have 20 artifacts in your deck. 3 Navigator's Compass, I'll just gain some life, mana fix. 4 Renegade Maps, 3 Cogworks Puzzle Knot, because I can make some 1/1 servos. 4 Prophetic Prisms, because I want to draw cards and have tappable, basically improvise things. 4 Servo Schematics, because I want even more servos. 2 Sorcerer Spyglass, because guess what? I'm not going to lose to Teferi anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to beat Teferi, because I have Sorcerer Spyglass main. 3 Antiquities Wars. I think this is what finally put this deck over the top. Antiquities Wars, if you don't know what this card does, I've seen it in the sideboard of Affinity. It is a 4-mana enchantment saga. And you get to look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal an artifact card from among them, put it in your hand, put the rest in the bottom in any order. Cool. Grab whatever artifact you want. Doesn't really matter. On the 3rd hit, all artifacts you control become artifact creatures with base power and toughness 5/5.
Boom. Those Navigator
You're just
compasses
dead. Yeah.
are just smashing
You're gonna win.
face now.
If this thing hits 3, I don't see how you lose. You got to kind of beat it before. The land base now is really good. You got Spire of Industries. You've got, the land base is so good they can play 4 Zalfarim Voids because they don't even really need that much colored mana. I'm kind of surprised not to see the 5/6 flying, that if you can cast it for 4 if you tap an artifact. The Jin from Dominaria.
Yeah.
I could totally see him in this deck.
Yeah, or even in the sideboard. So is this basically what stockpile decks have become? Is this what we moved? It's hidden stockpile, the Revolt card that lets you get tokens every turn.
I don't even hidden stockpile isn't in this deck.
I'm saying so you used to have these 1/1 servo tokens.
Oh yeah. No, I think that
These
this is a
stockpile
different
style
thing,
decks.
but I think that that's more of a token style, and I don't really think the servos matter in this. You're trying to win with the big spells.
Yeah.
I think any artifact is going to win when Antiquity Wars goes off. So I think this deck is super, super cool. I definitely want to play it. We're running a little long, so we're going to jump into our last tournament result before we sign off, and that's going to be the Legacy Challenge. We won't go too deep into it because I know a lot of people...
And I know you want to.
I want to, but I know a lot of people listen mainly for just, random... Whatever. I don't care why you listen,
knows?
but
You
we're
may-
going to play
you
a
may
little
listen
Legacy.
'cause you like
We're
us.
going to talk a little Legacy. Blue, black, red, green. Yeah, a Dak Faden, Liliana the Last Hope, Chandra, Torch of Defiance, Jason Mind Sculptor deck was the only 7-0 deck. It makes me feel good, though, that there was enough people playing this Legacy Challenge, because sometimes it's only like 5 rounds. There's enough people playing that it was the same amount of rounds as the Modern tournament. So a lot of people, Legacy is healthy online. Dak Faden decks are super weird in Legacy. This deck is pretty cool. We got Punishing Fire package. We got Toxic Deluge, Force of Wills, Rise Falls, Preordains, Brainstorms, all your cool, it's kind of cool to see Chandra in Torch of Defiance and Legacy.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of like your normal, just like Deathrite Shaman, Baleful Strix deck that's just, rather than being on Leovold, they're just going that Planeswalker
Yeah, it's cool. I like this deck. You get to play one of everything in the sideboard. Legacy's crazy, man. Legacy is so wild.
It's
You know, they
super
just
fun.
look at all these cards you get to play. Like they're just like, nah, I have out of my 15 card sideboard, I'm playing 14 different cards. Tight, dude. You get to do whatever you want. All right,
go for it.
6-1, colorless Eldrazi. I think colorless Eldrazi is going to be on the rise. It's easy to beat sometimes. It's a frustrating deck. Every once in a while, it can kind of beat itself. But actually, oh, cool. This is not the colorless Eldrazi I thought. This is not Eldrazi Stompy. This is colorless Eldrazi
Control
with Trinispheres and Grim Monoliths, which I played at my last
Prison, I should
tournament. It is Cloud Post.
Yeah, okay.
It's Eldrazi Post. So all Eldrazi decks are prison decks essentially. Eldrazi Stompy is more of an aggressive slant.
Where this
this
is
one
more
is
of a-
a go big.
Yeah.
So this is the Tron of Legacy.
You're one to slam your Kozileks, your Ulamogs, your
Yeah.
Emrakuls.
So you've got 1 Walking Ballista, 4 Thought-Knots here, 2 Kozilek the Great Distortion, which if you don't know what that does, is a 12/12 with Menace, which just doesn't make any sense. But whenever you cast it, if you have 7 or less than 7 cards, you just draw cards equal to the difference. So always go back up to 7. 2 Ulamogs, 1 Emrakul the Promise End, 2 Karn Sign of Ugin because he's even showing up in Legacy decks, 4 Ugin the Spirit Dragon because it's super sick when you cast him on turn 3, 4 Chalice of the Voids, 4 Voltaic Keys, 4 Grim Monoliths, which is a 2-mana spell. It doesn't untap during your untap step, but it essentially nets you 1 mana the turn you play it, and then the next turn, it nets you 3.
Yeah. You just go off.
1 Basalt Monolith, which is the same thing. Trinisphere, 3 of them. 3 Thran Dynamo, which is a 4-mana tap for 3. All of the double lands, all the soul lands, so Ancient Tomb, City of Traders. Then you've got Cloud Post, which, I don't know, Cloud Post is banned in Modern, and for good reason, because Cloud Post with Vesuva, which is legal in Modern, and with Glimmer Post, which is also not legal in Modern, they're really awesome. Cloud Post says it taps for each locust land you control, and then it can get out of control. So you can go Cloud Post, your first... It comes into play tapped at least, otherwise this would be the most busted
Super
card of all
broken.
time. But you get, turn 1, Cloud Post. Turn 2, play a Cloud Post. Your second Cloud Post taps for 2. Turn 3, play
so right
a...
there is like Chalice on 1
There
or
you go.
something like that.
Turn 3, play
Or Grim Monolith.
Cloud Post again. Now you have 6 mana on turn 3, right? And you're already playing all these things like Basalt Monolith, Grim Monolith, Thran Dynamo, and Chalices, Trinispheres. Like the best play in this deck is going to be like Ancient Tomb, Chalice on 1, or Ancient Tomb, Grim Monolith. Next turn, untap, play either Soul Land or whatever. If you untap with Soul Land, you have 7 mana on turn 2.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. 7 mana on turn 2 can do a lot of stuff. It can cast a Chalice of the Void and a Thought Knot Seer. Then that follows up by, then you get to play like a Voltaic Key as well. It's just crazy.
I think what makes this deck really interesting as opposed to the other Legacy Eldrazi list is this deck, when you're playing your Kozileks, the Great Distortions, or your Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, you get the cast triggers. So even if your opponent's got Force of Will,
Oh, yeah, it doesn't matter.
Being able to ramp into a cast trigger, it's like it doesn't really even matter if the 10/10 resolves. If it does, great, whatever. But the fact that I get to pay 10, but I'm not actually paying 10 because I cheated it out on turn 3 or whatever.
Right.
And I get to exile 2 permanents on the spot seems super broken to me.
The super annoying thing about this deck is that I have this deck, every card in it, except for the 4 Karns that I have to buy now. And they're really
jumped on it,
expensive.
bro.
Yeah, it's really frustrating. I mean, I played this deck. I do think it's kind of cool that they are... I mean, this is an Eye of Ugin deck as well, because you can go search these cards up, because you have a lot of mana. So on turn 3, you could also drop Eye of Ugin and start to search things up by the next turn. It's only playing 2 Eldrazi Temple, which I think is kind of cool. And the other thing that's kind of neat in this version is it's playing 2 Thespian Sage, because it really wants to like capitalize on that. There's another colorless Eldrazi list a little bit further down that's playing a couple different things. Like Endbringer is very important in this one. It's only playing 2 Ugins. It's got more of like I don't know. It's about the same list, but it's got like some Urborgs. It's just a few cards different. Not as many Karns, not as many over-the-top threats, but a little more consistently mid-range colorless Eldrazi. All right, that's enough with colorless Eldrazi. We'll just go through some of the other ones. Allurin. This is how awesome a legacy is. We've got Check Pile, Dredge, Ad Nauseam, Tendrils, Allurin, Black, Red, Green, which is... I've never even seen this deck. What is this? What is this deck?
I don't know. It just
Through
looks
the Breach, Blood Moon, Okay,
Yeah,
never
yeah.
mind. It's Mono Red Sneak Attack.
Yeah, they're just splashing.
Yeah, no, they're not even splashing. These are just the things that they
Oh, that's just their
reanimate.
targets.
Yeah,
Okay, gotcha.
it's Mono Red Sneak Attack. So out of all these lists, we haven't even hit a reprint or
Identical list.
identical list until we get down to Colorless Eldrazi, which is even a different version of that deck.
What I think is really cool is this is the second week in a row that we've seen Dredge do well in an event.
Yeah,
And Legacy.
And guess what? No Grixis Delver at all
Nope.
in those top lists. I mean, Grixis Delver doesn't show up, and there is a 5 and 2 Grixis Delver, but that's like it.
I also
4
noticed
and
there's no
3.
Miracles list doing really well either, which is interesting.
Miracles there's a couple 5 and 2s.
Yep.
But Miracles is kind of on the out, I mean, it's not on the out. I'd actually think it's starting to climb back up. But Miracles has had a hard time once it lost its big.
Something very interesting. I'm looking at the Miracles list now. They, in Legacy, are playing 1 copy of Teferi, Hero of Dominaria.
Wait, which? Oh my goodness, that's wild. That's cool, dude. The card is insane. That used to be the third Jace, and they're just like, we're gonna play
why
Teferi.
not? Why not play it?
Wow, that's super crazy. Untap for your predicts or your swords or your portents.
I say this every time we talk about a control list, but if I were to start playing Legacy, this is the deck.
Here's the deal, too. You know how easy it is to actually build this deck?
Pretty
like,
easy.
You really don't
just need
need
Tundras,
a
basically.
ridiculous amount of money. Tundra has become one of the cheapest dual lands. I don't know why. For some reason, that blue land is not that expensive. And to be completely honest, you do not even need Tundras to play this deck.
Yeah.
You do not need them. It helps, but you could play this deck competitively without Tundras and just build and get Tundras as you come, maybe one here.
Mm-hmm. So your pricey cards that you're looking at are like Snapcaster, Jace the Mind Sculptor.
All things that you can play in Modern.
Yeah, so your big ones that you can't play in Modern are Force of Will and Tundra, and that's it. Oh, I guess Swords, Plowshares, but that's not even expensive. But I'm talking about pricey cards that are Legacy staples is just Force of Will and Tundra.
So the version that I would play is the Back to Basics version, and Back to Basics is kind of expensive. But that's not there's so many ways you can play this deck right now. But yeah, you're right. Okay, so let's say in paper this deck is running around, it's kind of expensive. It's $2,000. But that's about how much a tier 1 Modern deck is.
Yeah.
Why does
this deck not play True Name Nemesis?
It's not that type of deck.
don't
There
need
is a sideboard. Sometimes they've had sideboard True Name Nemesis, but your Monastery Swift or Monastery Mentor is going to wrap the game up really, really fast. Here's the deal: cut out Terminus, or not Terminus. I'm sorry. Cut out Back to Basics from this deck and 2 Tundras. You're looking at a deck that cost $1,000. You know what I'm saying? That is a completely reasonable.
This is an interesting card choice. Unexpectedly Absent, because this is like a Modern legal card even, and I've never seen this card played in anything.
That's just Legacy is a slower format than Modern, and you can play cards like this. If you don't know what it does, this is how we're going to end it. Unexpectedly Absent, because we have
About to
rabbled.
be unexpectedly absent.
X and white, put target non-land permanent on top of its owner's library, just beneath the top X cards of its library. So you can just play white, and you put it below 0 cards. So untap with Teferi and just
It's a white
put
bounce
it on
spell.
top.
Yeah.
Or if you got extra mana, just go ahead and bury that card in there. You do this in response to a fetch, which there's a lot of those in Legacy, so it doesn't even matter. It's white, shuffle your whatever back into your your library.
Get them.
Yeah, man, I hate Miracles, but I will say this. Miracles without top is fine, and I totally respect anybody who wants to play this deck, and I think the deck is way cooler and more interesting, and people are, I like the deck way more now that top's not there. When top was around, this deck was awful. It
took forever to
It was
play
a dumb
against.
deck. Yeah, it was just bad.
Yeah.
Or not bad. It was really, really good, but it was just a frustrating, annoying deck. Now, I think it's totally respectable to play this deck, and I even enjoy watching it a little sometimes.
I find it so interesting the difference between Legacy and Modern that you have your Modern control decks that need to run 24 to 25 lands, and then your standard control decks that are up in the 26s, and then you have a Legacy control deck that's only running 20 lands.
Brainstorm.
Is that really what it?
Ponder.
That's
Important.
You just have all the best cantrips.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, I'm gonna get them anyways, and then you're gonna hit all your land drops too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just
It's awesome.
seems like such a wild format.
It's a great format. I really hope that you get to play more soon. But we are hitting an hour and 15, so we are going to wrap this up. This has been Tilted Pod. We've been Jack and Mac. I hope you guys have a really great week, and we will be back next week to talk more results and talk more whatever news we can find out. We out.
Bye-bye.